All right, we are recording. What we're going to talk about is, well, of course, we're going to go over all your altcoins, but also I just kind of want to go over here, briefly at the beginning, the reasons for my stance that, we are going to have an altcoin push still. And a lot of it resides in the fact that I'm a position trader by heart. If I see something that's discounted, like if you go out there and you see real estate that's discounted and you have some money sitting there, of course, real estate's one of the safest plays you can make because it always goes up eventually. So I'm trying to bring up this Nansen chart here. And a lot of you have seen this before, but our entry threshold is way down here. We've only got about 16% tokens that are bullish right now. And I would say at minimum, we're going to see at least 60% of them bullish again before the top comes in. And really, I think it might be as much as 90% like it happened back in November 2021. So, that's part of my stance. The other part, of course, is the presidential chart where there's a certain amount of days that happen. I'm just going to bring it up here. There's a certain amount of days that transpire before the final top is finally in. And generally that's been over the last, actually it's been an exact number over the last couple of cycles, 1,071 days. So even if there's not as much of movement, after the breakout, like obviously this one was a lot more of an exponential move than this one was, although they were pretty much straight up. They did have a long drawn out sideways kind of 45-degree angle move before it happened. This one was more, this one actually took longer, I think. I don't know though, if you would have taken this out, this was an anomaly, I believe. If this hadn't happened, this push in 2019, then you probably wouldn't have gotten this huge dump in March 2020. Everything in the chart you can go back and look at and say, okay, well, if this would have happened lower on this line, then it would look, identical. We're kind of seeing the same thing, right? If we extend this line, it's kind of the same thing. It's just drawn out more. So the question is, will we top out in October, or will we, just kind of grind a little bit further and then finally have a much more vertical move that takes place until, whatever, February, March, maybe even April. It could happen, but I don't see it happening past that. So that's why I have BTC top here, October 6, 2025. It's probably not going to happen exactly on that day. But if it does turn out that it's 1,071 days, from bottom to top, just like it was in the previous two, then that would be approximately the date. And so far, everything has worked out perfectly. I haven't changed this chart since, I guess since the bottom, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember when I did this. It could have even been before the bottom. But I'm thinking it probably was when the bottom was already in because, I drew that trend line support. So anyway, I just think it's interesting how it all plays out similarly. And, of course, Bitcoin dominance, we all believe that it's way overheated when ETH is way down here still. You got your 30 cross on the RSI on ETH, and now it's above, what is this? This is the monthly chart. Even on something that lags a lot, like the monthly chart, you've got an RSI that's breaking above the 14, I think it's the 14-day, yeah, it's the 14-day EMA. And I want to give some definition to what these things mean, just so you understand. A lot of you probably do, but just for those that may not. RSI, if I took this line off right here, so that's an RSI-based MA we were looking at on that blue line. The purple line is just the RSI, and it's a momentum indicator, meaning, if price pumps out of nowhere, then it's going to do something very similar. This has a relatively similar shape, to this, to the price action up here. Not exactly, but, it's going to fluctuate with the price. And then what you're looking for, of course, is just like I was saying with somebody like Mike Maloney. I don't know if all of you know him or not, but he always talks about buying things cheap and selling them when they're at a premium. So 30 RSI would be cheap and 70 RSI would be at a premium. And so that's what we're looking at. We talked about the 30-70 rule multiple times, whenever that was earlier this year. And that's what you're looking for. You want to buy cheaply and sell when it at least gets close to 70 RSI, maybe over it. But of course, this is a higher term, a higher time frame. So really, you would be looking at a daily. And here's a perfect example here. So, ETH Bitcoin, it got a 30 cross right there. You could have bought when it crossed back up, and then it got back up here above 70. You could have sold there. This would have been a little more difficult because it didn't quite hit the 30. That's why I say it's a lot easier to sell off the RSI than it is to buy. And unfortunately, somebody's decided to print a bunch of paper while I'm trying to do this, so hopefully it's not coming through the mic too much. But you can see the same thing here. Lower high broke back below the 70. So clearly, this was an easy way to sell, and sometimes you can get a very good entry as well. But that's why I've included, if we bring this line back for the RSI-based moving average, that's why I've included this, because even if this would have come and dropped under the 50, you could have entered right there above this line and, rode that up, even though it didn't come all the way down to the 30 line. Hopefully that makes sense. So the RSI-based MA, it's just like the one that you would put on the chart. Like if I opened up a moving average to show up here on the chart, it would look just like this. It'd be overlaid here on the top and have the same, smooth pattern to it. And so we'll look at some of these altcoins. I just wanted you to understand the way I'm looking at it first, so that when I start to show these things on the altcoin charts, you'll better understand. It'll allow you to make better decisions when you're watching your tokens. As far as Bitcoin goes, same thing is going on. We got kind of a bull flag thing happening. The CME gap right here is completely filled now. So, if it wanted to turn around and start moving back up, it could. It wouldn't be a problem at all. But, there is still some possibility of it coming down here to this line right here. And that would be around 103 to 106K. But, we don't know yet what's going to happen. We do know, just based on what we just talked about, that it is bearish currently because it's below the, the 14-day moving average here, the overlay here. Of course, when you open up the RSI, it's probably going to be a yellow line, just so you know. And then total 2 we're looking at here. This was just an example I was given on a video this week, like a public video. But I'm sure you've all seen this, the altcoin season chart thing. What we're looking for here, of course, is for it to get into the alt season. And let me bring that up for you here real quick. Since I'm already talking about it, I didn't really plan to talk about this one, but we'll just see what it looks like currently. Is this the right one? Thought that was it. That's strange. I wonder if it's down or something. Yeah, that is the one that I use. Oh yeah, it's down. It's got some kind of error there. That's weird. Okay. Well, anyway, the idea there is that, we want it way up here into the altcoin season, but it works just like the RSI. If it gets above the 50 line, the median between these two lines here, then that's when things really start to push up. So we're going to get another move like this, I'm confident, but we're just seeing some choppiness right now. Same thing here with the RSI. It's dropped below the 50. So in this case, what you would watch for on total 2 is if it starts to curl up like this, which that's not the right color. But if it starts to curl like that, and then you get something like this, where it breaks above that blue one, like that. So that would be a buy signal, even though it didn't hit the 30. So hopefully that makes sense. ETH rejecting off a key resistance right there. But what you want to watch for here, by the way, is I suspect it's going to do something like that, just because this is what, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it hit it a couple times back here too, but this would be the third hit actually since this top. So I think it's going to hold here somewhere, higher up, and then it will go ahead and break. So I really expect it to be bullish. And of course that pushes all the other alts up. This is the thing that we looked at on others market cap. This excludes all top 10 tokens, Bitcoin, ETH, all that. So this is most of the alts. And I was expecting that it was probably going to dip into the support zone, which it did once, but it still could dip in there one more time. So, this is curling down back towards fear, but I don't expect it to hit the fear level. I expect it to hold at that line right there, this trend line. And I had put this green arrow out here. I don't know why I put it out into September, if that was on purpose or not, but August could be that bounce, into the full moon where it starts moving back up. All right, so now we'll get into the altcoins. Let me see. Epi says, let me bring this over. Epi says a lot of SM and Jupe. Are there others that have tens of SM holders that might point us to opportunities during the dip? Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to, it's hard to look at all those tokens. It takes a while to go through Nansen and look through all of them. That's why I have those alert channels set up. So like IO, for example, has been showing up a lot lately, but it doesn't have, I think we talked about it earlier, it actually doesn't have any smart money in it. I think it's just all whales. And I want to clarify that because, there was a time when it was just all about smart money, right? That's all we talked about. But since Nansen has changed things on here to where you can see the top 100 holders or whales or what do they call them? Public figures. Anybody that has a lot of money that's buying this, buying any token, we can treat them just like smart money, right? I don't really, I don't really discount that they're not smart money. It's just that, they are putting money in, it's getting eyes on it. Smart money is a very small subset. It's like, 1% of all wallets. So, you can't just go buy smart money every time because there may not be any smart money in it. And so if we go over here to the whale tab here on Nansen, and then we click on number of holders, we're up to 24 holders on IONET. So, these people have a ton of money, and, I think you have to put some weight on that, especially when price is dipping, and it's dipping into a support level, which we can look at IO really quick. That is the support level right there. But here's how I would play this, and why I wanted to mention the RSI thing is because we're hitting the 30 RSI right now. If it does dip a little bit below it, that's fine. But we're going to be careful, and we're going to wait until, that's not the right color. We're going to wait until the RSI, which is the purple line for me, crosses above the 14-day exponential moving average. So here's my settings. So we got 14 RSI length. This is all the RSI settings, and this is all the EMA settings, which you can change it to SMA. It's just going to smooth it out more. You can change this number if you want. You can put it on a 21. But I like the EMA, how it sets up, so that's what I use. But if you get that, if you get the RSI line cross above, then that's your buy signal. You've already got one indicator saying, okay, it's way oversold. You're below the 30 line, so that's good. You're touching it right now. But, you'd really like to see that second indicator to give you confirmation. And then you enter on that one. And I'll show you on CCD here in a minute what I mean, just to make it more clear. Actually, I'll just go ahead and show you now. I did a whole chart on this. Let me find it here. So if you want to go back and look at the signals channel here, I did a whole thing where I marked the buy and sell levels using the RSI. This is back when I was using the yellow line for the EMA. But you can see the green arrow is the buy, red arrow is the sell, and that was when, whether it touched the 30 RSI or not, if it crossed above the 14 EMA, that's a buy signal. But the way to sell it, the better way to sell it, I felt like, is if you touch 70 and then it, you started to see it move down, maybe wait, if it touches 70 and then you wait for one more candlestick, and if it starts coming down on the RSI on that next candlestick, then just go ahead and sell. And then if you come down here, just like it did, and then it crosses back above that yellow line, then that's another buy signal. It touched 70 again, you can sell there only after you confirm the next, you don't sell it right when it hits 70, right? You wait until it either rejects it like it did, or like over here it comes up above it, and then starts moving down. So it's okay to wait. This is a 2-day chart, by the way, but it's okay to wait an extra tick. So you can wait one more candle body before you make your decision. And so that's a sell. I'm not waiting on it to cross below the EMA in this case. I'm only using the cross above for the buy signal. And you can see, you know, it just keeps going, cross up, sell, cross up. This was a sell because it did touch 70 right there, and then it started turning back down. But this is another buy right here, even though it didn't come down to 30, because it crossed back up at the line. So you could have made money here, sold, made money there, sold. And it's not always so clean like this, but a lot of times once it starts developing a pattern in this way, you can just start following it and start making money. So it's very difficult. I mean, I'm going to give an example with QUBIC later, but it's very difficult to actually do this because your mind wants to tell you, no, don't sell because it's going to keep going up, right? So it is difficult, I agree, but you know, you just have to get past that and decide that you're going to sell it, take profits, or maybe just take your initials out and then compound that money again when it crosses up. Okay, and as far as CCD goes, I'm going to start getting into the alts here now. Let me just make sure of one thing. Oh, did it? Oh, I bet it disappeared because I had that was like a screenshot. Let me see. Yeah, it's still showing here. Okay. All right, so starting with CCD, these are some of the tokens that were requested, and so I'm going to talk about them first. I think actually CCD was just an example, but I've got a couple after. So what we're looking at with this, of course, we have the sell signal. When you get a big candle like this, sometimes it's going to retrace 50%, whether it's a buy candle, you know, like this buy candle right here, we're actually retracing at least 50% of it, right? So you had a huge move. Now we're retracing it, and it's just a retest here at around the 786. And I'm talking about the fib. So, you know, we might start moving back up here. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But, you know, you had a huge sell candle as well. So now it's retracing 50% or, you know, around 70% of that candle. And so it could go either way at this point. It could either, you know, do some kind of bull flag, touch here before it moves, or you could get something like this where it just starts kind of going sideways in a triangle formation and then breaks out. So those are kind of the two options that I would expect. But currently, you know, you are below that EMA line right there. So you know not to be buying right here. Now, this thing did bounce off the 50, which is strong. You know, you do want to see that. So what you'd be watching for is if this purple line is going to cross the EMA line right there, and that would be your buy signal if you want to buy more. These are just like the really safe ways to play it and you know, compound your money. And it's very similar to the 30-70 rule, of course. It's just we're adding another line to it. So QUBIC, I actually talked about this in the group. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. I said that it looks like it's breaking below the 70, but at that time it wasn't clear just yet. Now it's broken below that line right there. So you can say, okay, this is kind of like a trend line where price is all, you know, the momentum of the price is staying above the RSI there. But as soon as it breaks down, then that's a warning that it could be coming down. And let's say you went down to like a 3 hour or something like that. That's why I had already drawn this trend line that connects all the bottom of these candles and candlesticks. And then I also drew a longer term one, which that one didn't connect exactly. That one should be more like that. Anyway, it's close. So as soon as you lose, you know, this shorter term and you lose the longer term, you know, this one's probably going to come back up here at minimum and touch that, and then maybe come down. You know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But look how this is just rejecting the whole way. It's rejecting off that line right there. That's why I like the 14 EMA. It seems to work pretty well on every, you know, any time frame. And so you know, even though it touched and slightly went above here, you didn't really have a confirmation because you need to wait one tick on it. You need to wait one more 3 hour period. In this case, this is a 3 hour chart. So currently it's very bearish because it's below the 50 RSI. But if you go to the daily chart, of course, you get a completely different view. You know, you see that it's been very overheated. It had a lower high, and you broke below the 14 EMA. So that's your sell signal right there. And here's, you know, as far as pushing the worry out of your head and not having to worry about it once you sell, maybe you don't sell the whole thing. That would help some of your worry. But if you do sell all of it and you're worried about when to get back in, well, it's easy, because now you've got a rule where if this thing comes down to the 50 and starts moving up, and then this one here just kind of starts doing something like this and then curls up, and then just like we were talking about before, that's your buy signal right there. And even if it keeps going down this way and then finally curls above it, then now you've got your buy signal down here. So it keeps you out of long, drawn-out downtrends. Drawn-out downtrends. I hope I said that right. My brain kind of fried there for a second. So yeah, I mean, that's the way to play it anyway on the buy. You can buy it at any time using the line, but the selling takes place up here near the 70 line, or near the 70 dotted line there for the RSI. So let me know if that doesn't make sense, or if it does. Let me see. Oh, Epi said something else. Let me see what he said here. The alert channels are great to point you to opportunities to research. Is there that on the daily? Saw the CCD back testing, interesting stuff. Can't see your, oh yeah, you were saying can't see cursor, okay. Yeah, well, is there that on the daily? Were you saying, is there alerts for the daily? I mean, the alerts just kind of come in, I think on an hourly basis based on how many people are buying, like in the long SM channel. So long SM flows. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it was a 2-day chart when we were looking at CCD. The only reason I really put it on that is because it was very clear. Like if I was to step back some more, let me go, yeah, that is the 2-day. Like if I go way back here, it's pretty ugly, right? I mean, all that's really ugly. But this was just such a clean, buy and sell situation that to illustrate the point, because it was so smooth, I use that. And this will happen a lot, this really choppy action when price is just dropping and there's, it's kind of in a free fall, nothing's stopping it. But, once it found that bottom, you had some opportunities here once it found that support line.
Generally see on the cross for more or less every chart, don't you, on the 2-day, that when the RSI crosses above the average, then you see a spike in price more often than not, don't you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I mean, if we were to put a mark here, just, and don't worry about the color of it, but let's look at what, I mean, the 2-day Engineering Robo is not going to work too good on a 2-day usually because it's too lagged. It's taken too long for it to get its signal. But even here, I mean, I could actually drag this back one. Like if we're waiting one extra tick here and we got our buy signal waiting, this is actually better than Engineering Robo on the daily, I mean, technically, and even for the sell signal. So, if someone was to make a system, and I've actually been messing around with it some just to make a simple, thing that I could just give to y'all that would find these buy and sell signals for you, much more easily to where you didn't necessarily need Engineering Robo. I mean, Engineering Robo is still great. It's just that in this case, it was a little bit slow. And the thing with engineering is it's going to be great on some tokens, and then some tokens is going to lag a little bit. And that's just the nature of altcoins. Like for Bitcoin, it does great with. ETH, it does great with. But, if you had something for free, a system that you could use for free like this, that could give you the signals, that would be great. It would help everybody out a lot. So I'm going to keep messing with it. It seems to have a lot of errors, when the AI tries to make it for me, but I'll see what I can, work out with it for y'all.
Yeah, with Robo, when you're looking at the buy signal, it's almost as if you just missed the boat, don't you, with it because of the lag. But it's really good on sells, though, isn't it? So it definitely stops you from losing a ton to the downside. But yeah, just the simple RSI technique that you showed really works on most charts. It was really quite eye-opening, to be honest.
Yeah, I think just, practice with it and see if it works for you. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like what we'll see a lot of times is, maybe there's a big candle. I mean, sometimes Engineering Robo finds the the big candle. Sometimes it's actually this gray candle right here on the buy signal. But if we do get a big move like this, sometimes it'll come back 50%. And I've said that before, how be careful if you get a pretty big move, like a 50% move or more in one day. Maybe give it a few days and just see if it comes back. Now, the only caveat to that would be if the market was just going crazy and all alts were going up, then you probably just want to buy right away. But you could get a much better price if you just, like on this one, wait a little bit, like you're on QUBIC, and maybe wait 5 days or something, and then buy if it's come down about 50%. But yeah, you're right about the sell signal on Engineering Robo does tend to play it a little bit safe. It wants to make sure that things are turning down first. It's using multiple, math equations or multiple indicators under the hood. And so you're from the very, very top, it actually gave it about 40%. But yeah, I mean, the great thing about it is it keeps you out of this long downtrend. So it's very trustworthy in that way, unless things are just chopping a lot like it is here. So yeah, I would say, like you were just saying a minute ago, this could probably get you in and out much quicker, but it also takes a lot more focus, and you're having to rely on your own emotions, keeping your own emotions in check, which with Engineering Robo, you don't really have to. You just follow what it says. Now, this right here was actually a really good buy signal. I mean, it really gave it very close. So there's some other checks that are happening with Engineering Robo that it just wants to be sure first. And I think both are great, though. Either one works really well. All right, did we talk about...
I was trying to get into QUBIC, actually, and it pumped like crazy, didn't it, recently?
Which one?
QUBIC. I was trying to get in. It pumped, so I avoided buying, but I think it's retracing now, isn't it? Somewhat.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it might be. It's just so difficult because I've seen this pattern before, and let me see if I can find one.
The reason I'm kind of interested in it is they seem to be sucking up a lot of the attention at the moment, don't they, with this Monero beef that we've got going on currently. And it's interesting that coincides, isn't it, with a market that's about to move into the bull run. Because like you said, I think the founder knows how to manage a bull run, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And get maximum value and price.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if he can take this thing to top 10 again like he did those other two tokens. I mean, I don't know if he can, but that would be pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, I have seen this pattern that would play out something like this. I mean, I think this one's a little bit too vertical, and that's why I kind of feel like it needs a rest. But you're also running into a place that, here was some resistance right there, and back here it was as well. So this is the first time it's touching it, and I really feel like it's just going to keep coming down a little bit, 50% at least. So that would be somewhere within this shoulder right here, kind of in the, what is it, 5 zeros and a 2, somewhere in there. But, currently it is bullish, according to Engineering Robo. However, using our system that we just talked about just now, it's not. I mean, it is bullish, but it's, it's given what would amount to a profit signal, take profit signal. And actually, I'm curious about that. Let's see something. I don't think it would have given one. I was just going to see if it gave AI take profit yet, or even on the 12-hour. Yeah, it gave one on the 12-hour right there, and here actually. But see, this would have been very difficult. I mean, I don't ever tell anybody to use the 12-hour chart, but I'm just using it as an example. How would you have gotten back into this play? You wouldn't have been able to buy again until right here. But, the 12-hour, you're getting lower highs here, so, I would suspect, this is a bearish divergence here.
But the TP1's more or less bang on, isn't it, in terms of the mark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason why I chose that is because it was once support back here. It had a really defined support level and even a resistance level right here.
If we were in QUBIC, we'd have no excuse not to take profit here, would we?
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking about taking some, but, since I feel like the market's going to keep going, I really don't care, to be honest. You know, I'm okay with just continuing to hold. But you know, for somebody that wanted to compound and try to buy more tokens by taking profit here, I could understand why they would want to do it for sure. And it would be correct to do so.
For what?
Sorry?
You've been holding this one for a while, haven't you? So.
Yeah, I've had, so what I did was, just so you know, I mean, just for fun, I'll show you. I joined Braver's group back late 2023, I believe. Yeah, so it was late 2023. I bought somewhere in here, and I bought twice as much as I wanted because I was going to sell 50% once it lost to zero. And so as it was getting up here like this and losing a zero, I told everybody, I said, and I didn't know that the whole market was going to turn around. I was just watching QUBIC. I did mention on X that I felt like the market was going to, at some point in March, start to cool off. But I think, when was this? Yeah, that was March 4th. So right around March 3rd, I started talking about, you know, QUBIC looking like, or if it lost to zero, that would be like a mental stop. Like people would say, oh, well, you know, it's lost to zero, I need to take some profit. And it ended up working out. So I took 50% profit there. I didn't catch the very top. It was probably more like this. But I went ahead and held that other 50% because that's, you know, it's in the back of your mind. You're like, well, you know, what if the market just keeps going? And that's what they'll do, right? The market makers will drop it and then bring it back up. And then you'll think it's time to move up again. And then, you know, they'll take it all the way back down. So, and even back here, you know, people would have said, oh, well, you know, QUBIC's ready to fly again. And that's that cult mentality. Just like with CASPA, you know, people just kept holding and holding after they bought way down here and they didn't take any profits because everybody was gassing them up, saying that CASPA was going to be the best token and, you know, revolutionize whatever it was going to revolutionize.
Yeah, I mean, when you zoom out like that, though, you wouldn't be overly concerned at holding, would you? Because you're more or less at the bottom, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody really expected. I remember talking to people about this. I said, yeah, it's probably going to hold right here, whatever this level is, or maybe it was up here. Nobody, I mean, myself included, I didn't really expect it to come this far down. But yeah, like you're saying, it's, you know, why would you sell here? It's at a huge discount.
Most are. It's just picking which ones you think are going to fly the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there's really no way of knowing that. I mean, you know, whoever's behind the scenes is just going to pump the ones that they want to pump. And the market in general is going to go up, you know, altogether. But some will do, you know, 30x, and some will do 10x, and some will do 5x. The ones that will do 5x, I believe, of course, are like DOGG, you know, ones that are huge market caps. I do believe we're holding most of the ones that will at the very least do a 10x. And that's assuming, of course, that the, you know, alt market pump happens, but I believe that it will. And I know a lot of us do. But yeah, that's QUBIC. You know, I kind of feel like it's going to dip a little bit for us there. And for some people, that's a very good thing. You know, they're wanting to get in. And for some people, they just want to see things go straight up. But we know it doesn't do that. Let's see, this is Zealous. This is one of Braver's calls from a while back. And I know we've got some people from Braver's group. So somebody was asking about this. Now, I would say just in general, based on what we were looking at a minute ago, this is bearish currently. What you'd be watching for is just the curl back up above the EMA. But this could be an inverted head and shoulder, so shoulder, head, and maybe another shoulder that gets drawn out, just going sideways here. But, you know, the best way to do it is just wait for that cross. We can see why it rejected there. It's because there's been a lot of, I don't know if we could take a volume profile here or not, from here to here. Well, no. Well, yeah, it kind of works there, doesn't it? So you can see if we pull a volume profile from the very top to the very bottom, the point of control, this red line right here, ends up being where most of the buyers and sellers are fighting for a position, or, you know, kind of like tug of war, pulling against each other. And so, you know, the people taking profits or the people shorting it, if it can be shorted, I don't know if it's on perpetual market or not, but if it can be, then people are taking shorts at that line, hoping that it goes down further, at least down here. So this would be the very discounted area. So if it dipped back down to here, you're going to see a lot of people buying in. But if it gets above this line, this point of control, then a lot of people would buy there as well, because now they're seeing it get above a resistance area. So that's one way to look at it. You can always do that.
Is this one like a tau beta play? Is it like an AI?
I'm actually not sure what XELIS is. It might tell us here. Sometimes there's the, well, it's DeFi looks like. Privacy DeFi, smart contract.
Oh, okay,
Proof of work. Oh, scaling layer 1. So yeah, layer 1s are pretty big. You know, they're always gonna be pretty big. And unfortunately, ones like this we can't look up on Nansen because it doesn't have its own contract address, since it is a layer 1. Okay, this is Lido DAO. Yeah, mostly just lower highs here on the RSI along with the price action. Not really seeing any bullish divergences here on the weekly. If we go to the daily, yeah, I mean, it's kind of significant that it got back above the 50 here. You know, some volatility is coming back into it. This kind of reminds me of what we were just looking at with CCD, where now it's starting to cross up, hit the 70, come back down near the 30, hit the 70. So I think this is just consolidation sideways, and I doubt it gets back below support. So maybe just some consolidation and then it breaks out.
I think I'd asked about this one. It was just curiosity more than anything else, because I think the TVL on this is huge, isn't it? I think quarter of ETH's tokens are staked through this Lido DAO, I think.
Yeah.
And the market cap is relatively low in relation to the amount of TVL.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I think it's like a 13 or 14 billion TVL, and the market cap was like $1 billion or something.
That is pretty low.
Yeah, I have my Lido. I have my ETH staked through Lido.
Yeah, it's ones like this I see pop up on Nansen pretty often, where, you know, it looks like a lot of money is coming into it, and I guess that's what it is. It's just people staking things on it. I can't remember what the other one. There's another DAO like that that gets a lot of activity like that. So yeah, I imagine this is on a lot of people's lists here.
I suppose it depends on what ETH's doing. And I guess ETH is going to go up, isn't it? In which case you'd expect.
Yeah, I think we just ended up in a position where, you know, I had the TP1 line here just because, you know, it's rejected that a couple of times now. It even rejected it back here. But, you know, you had a deviation down here. And by deviation, I mean, here's your range was really between the bullish line and the TP1, you know, because we got above this area that was resistance at one point. So now it's just mostly consolidation, but you had a deviation below it, got back above it. So I think it's very bullish in general, because this is more like a fake out. It was just getting back into this level that it was at before to fake people out. And I really feel like it's going to establish some price action just below the resistance area. It's probably not going to come back down here anywhere. I've seen that happen before. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, there's even a bit of a trend line there. So technically that would be kind of like an inverted head and shoulders on an angle. You know, shoulder here, head, and then another shoulder there. So it looks pretty bullish to me, but, you know, we'll have to see how all this plays out here. What were we on? LDO, okay. Yeah, so LDO, you know, maybe you could play this on the next, I'm not real big on playing tokens that are really high market cap, and, you know, maybe $1 billion's not too much anymore. You know, they've gotten much higher, but I tend to stay under $1 billion. But either way, if you wanted to try to make some quick gains on this one, just wait and see, you know, when this thing starts curling back up and gets above your EMA line there, you might be able to make a quick 20% or something.
Yeah, I'm like you. I tend to go for the smaller caps for the higher potential upside, but I guess from the conversations that T's been having over the last little while with us, there is this view, isn't there, that why wouldn't you make some money before rotating into the smaller caps? And I guess it makes sense to do that. It's kind of why I was looking at Dupe and a few others just to see what the opportunities were.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all remember talking about it or not, but we kind of discussed it in chat maybe a week or two ago. It could have been longer. I don't remember when it was now, but how we were saying, okay, we're in that. This must have been 4 weeks ago now that I think about it, but we're in that area, even though we're getting buy signals. This was before the sell signals just came through, that we could chop around. Some alts are way behind and they still need to catch up, like XPRT, which we will look at in a second. Or some have already broken out, like ETH, for example. It's already broken out of its range, and now it's just kind of retesting that area and doing its little consolidation before the next move. So everything's chasing, ETH's chasing Bitcoin. I guess in a way, ETH is chasing XRP, or maybe it's vice versa. I'd have to look at the two charts. But either way, I think the alts are just kind of playing catch up, and that's why we're at just 16% alts that are short-term bullish right now. But we'll get there. I do believe we will get there. And let me know, I think this was yours, Epi, JST. It says just.
Oh yeah, I've given up on these bikes, to be honest. It's okay. I was doing some research on the DeFi protocols on this. This is another staking one, but I think it's linked to Tron. Yeah, you don't need to worry about this one. So.
Yeah, I mean it's not too bad. This one had like an 8x at one point. The ones that I would stay away from are the ones that just have really low volatility that don't really seem to do much when they get a buy signal. Like say maybe right there's your buy signal. I mean, you would have had to catch that wick, but this one had about a 70% move in a couple of days. That's not bad at all. But yeah, I mean, I agree. If it's a staking protocol or something like that, I don't tend to play it for, a short-term gain usually, just because, most people are holding them long-term, and it's probably not going to see many buyers to pump it hard, at least, I don't think. But this one looks okay. It's not too bad. It's been mostly sideways for a long time. I mean, if we compare this to like ETH, it doesn't have much volatility.
I mean, the big ones that I've noticed on the long-term smart money flow alerts channel has been Dupe, IO, Well, and Tau, hasn't it? They're the ones that show up almost constantly on that alerts channel. So you they're probably the ones you should be looking at on there, I guess.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that it's a combination. So the way I have that alert set up is it's tracking all of the tokens that most of them that we're in, but at the same time, it's tracking new tokens as well, or tokens that are seeing large volatility or large volume that are between a certain market cap, and I can't remember what that is. I think it's kind of like 80 million. Well, it's either 30 million to 100 million or something like that. It's within a certain market cap. So you're going to get some that are just market caps all over the place because it's the ones we're following, and you're going to get some that are within a certain range that you may not have heard of before. And the reason why I did it that way is we found SNSY, of course, from Tatiana's the one that told us about it initially, but we first heard about it when it was maybe 10 million market cap. So I'm trying to find things that are kind of like that, that maybe we don't know about.
That's another one, isn't it? SNSY is another one like the one we were just looking at, QUBIC. QUBIC's about to hit its head, isn't it, on a resistance line. SNSY did exactly the same thing, and it's pulling back a bit now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll pull SNSY up here next so we can look at that. This is that other one I think that you were asking about, Spark. Let me see, what did it do? That was a pretty good move out of it. But we know of these big moves. Well, it looks like a big move anyway. It's about 5x. That's still really good. But we know if it's a short-lived big push like this, this took about 10 days or whatever, it's usually going to need some consolidation. So I'm expecting on this one, I don't know if it'll come up and make a lower high first or not to fake people out, but somewhere in here is where I would expect it to find support for the next move, but it's probably going to need some consolidation as well. And that's the way I view that one. Of course, that's on a 12-hour chart. I had to pull it up on 12-hour.
Again, this one's kind of one that's already moved, isn't it? So,
Yeah. I'd probably stay away from that one for now, but it could be a good one later. SNSY, yeah, I mean, I could pull the TP1 on this one. I'm just going to look at something first here. Well, no, that's where I wanted my line, but maybe I should have used the 50 line there. So yeah, if I use the 50 line instead of that 382, then definitely that is a resistance area. But this really reminds me a lot of ETH at this point, you know, this little shoulder that ETH has. It's just that it's more advanced into the dip that it's having. I don't know, it could still come down more. You know, it could even dip below this thing, but I really don't expect it to get up under the support level there. Just because it's, you know, it's been trying to push against that TP1 line multiple times. But yeah, I mean, it still needs some time, looks like, to, you know, give it another try.
This is one that most of us are in, isn't it? This one.
Yeah. And some of us rebought back here. Like I took some profits somewhere in here, and then I rebought. I might have rebought up here actually around 0015 after this buy signal came in. But I didn't sell when it told me to. I just decided that I would hold on to it. But yeah,
I hope this one does well.
Well, we're just waiting on that cross, right? You know, if y'all want to start using that idea, you might be able to get a really nice entry on this the next time it does cross up. Because this does a really good job.
A lot of them currently are not at the point that they're going to cross up on the RSI, are they? They're kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they all
So
look very
would you
similar.
recommend like sitting on your hands for now?
I would, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, just because we're seeing so many of these drop below the 50 RSI. I mean, it's not to say that we're going to, you know, see them stay down here for a long time. I don't think that'll happen. The only way I could see that happening is if this really is a summer lag, you know, a summer lull like it usually is. And maybe this was the pump in the summer. But even if that were to happen, I would still say that by September, October for sure, we'd start moving back up, and it would be the really strong move. So within 3 months, I do expect a very volatile move to the upside. But yeah, just wait on that cross on that one.
Profit taker is going to be so important at that time, isn't it? It can almost be forgiven now, can't it? Because the upside is essentially so high. But when you're in that, when you're in that volatile move up,
yeah,
you really got your life taking some money off the table, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to get upset about moving or missing, you know, past profits at this point, because it's all ahead of you pretty much. You know, you can still make it, but right, I mean, we have to do much better this time, of course. You know, we can't be round tripping, and I would say this is a great time, especially since we haven't seen the cross up happen yet for these next buy signals. It's a great time just to check in on these each day and say, okay, has this thing crossed up? And if it has, then, you know, go ahead and buy some more and see how well this strategy works for you. And if it works for you, then it'll make it very easy to be taking profits later on. Now, one thing I will say, if we just go back here on SEI, you know, there's some people that are going to be disappointed because they're going to be like, okay, well, you know, I took profits right here like I was supposed to, or maybe I took them back here when the 70 crossed, but, you know, this thing had one more push after it. But I don't think you can really get upset with that. I mean, say if this was the blow-off top that we're talking about, maybe this happened in October or something, or maybe next year in March, where the final blow-off top happened, and you got in down here somewhere. And so, of course, this isn't, you know, relative of what we're going to make then, but let's say this was like a, you know, 10x move or something, and so you took profits there, and then you didn't buy back or something there, and nobody really would. and maybe you missed out on another, 2x or something, 3x. The thing we have to understand is, if you take the full move in its context, then yeah, it's, for example, it might be like a 12x move or something. You caught the 10x, all you missed was, another 2 or 3x. So we can't really worry about that too much. We made a nice move, we followed the rules. That's all we're really looking for. And even here with Engineering Robo, it gave you the sell signal about in that area when it came back down, although we're on the 3-day. Let me just check something. I mean, that lagged a lot, so it's kind of hard to use that. Let me just check what the daily gave us on this.
If you don't follow a system, though, you're just guessing, aren't you?
Yeah.
So even though you might not be catching the top, you're following a strategy that you've tested. You've got to have more confidence in that, haven't you, than just intuition.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to pull the trigger. And the other thing is that you can actually do it without using a chart, but you have to be sure, like if you use the Coinbase app thing, if it's number one and there's a lot of euphoria, things like that, then you can actually make a pretty good play and sell, start selling and taking profits, and usually do pretty well just based off of people's euphoria. So that could work, or it could just be, a secondary indicator that you use that's not related to a chart. But this could work really well for you too, using this. Let's see what Gwizzy had to say here.
As you go through these more and more, though, you do see the patterns, don't you? Repeat.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And actually, when you're pointing out the stuff in the RSI and the MACD, it does work, doesn't it? And if you had discipline around following that strategy and that structure, rather than just going with gut feeling a lot of the time as you do, as the market's telling me to keep a hold of things, following the strategy's got to be a better approach. I think.
That is key. You made a really good point there. Did you have something else to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, sorry. I'm talking too much on this one. I guess.
No, you're good. No, that's what this time's for, is for y'all. You made a really good point there that you do kind of have to block out all the noise. Like we were talking about CASPA a minute ago, and one thing I noticed when I was talking about the CASPA top being in back in July of last year, people were saying, or I made posts about, you can't follow the cult. There's a lot of people that are going to be saying, CASPA's the next big thing. It's never going down, and those people are going to lose you money. So blocking out social media, blocking out YouTube, just using your own system and sticking to it, that's really the way to, it's the best way to take profits. It's the best way to buy as well. As long as you've got something that you feel is proven and you kind of went back and tested it, whether it's Engineering Robo or whatever, maybe this RSI idea, it can definitely work for you. Let me see here. Gwizzy said third time's a charm to learn from the April and July pumps. Yeah. Human emotion, I mean, there's that factor, and then there's our short-term memory. We quickly forget how it felt to round trip, because we're all euphoric about price going up. But, I think we've got enough people in this group, especially with Tatiana. She thinks differently, or well, she's an individual, and I think we do have a lot of individuals in the group, but she's individually minded in that she doesn't let anybody else sway her thinking, and she will a lot of times say things that surprise people, when we're talking about charts and price action and things like that. So she'll kind of go against the grain of what people are saying sometimes. And those are the people that you want to listen to. You want to really lean into the people that aren't saying the same thing that 90% of the other people are saying, especially when things are euphoric. But yeah, the RSI thing, this would have been very difficult because of the choppiness of it. Like, here's your 30, you got your buy signal, here's your sell signal right here, and then you got this massive move after that. So that's why I say something like the 2-day chart might be better, because see how much more clear that is? You could have bought way down here, sold there, and then bought back right there when it crossed back up. But you would have really been having to watch closely to see this. And then you would have gotten out somewhere. This would have been extremely difficult right here to get in. But you could have still done it. You could have bought there, sold shortly after it hit the 70, maybe wait one tick, which would have been 2 extra days. And you still could have made some money there. What would that be? Wouldn't have been much, maybe 30%. So yeah, I mean, don't sweat not hitting the exact top. It's just not going to happen. We just make our money and we move on.
You didn't have to do that though, did you? If you caught the first cross up, you'd have made a really good chunk of profit.
Oh yeah, for sure. But looking at that, switching between the daily and the 2-day, I guess you saw how choppy that daily was, and you have to move up to the 2-day. I just don't see any other way to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to start looking at the 2-day. It's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Cleans things up incredibly, doesn't it?
It does. And I don't know what the 3-day looks like, but I think I messed around. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. I would say just test it. I mean, the higher you get, the more lag you get in your chart, and you're going to be late to play. So maybe 2-day is the best of both worlds. It's a good medium between the daily and the 3-day. I think it'll work anyway. Okay, so let's move on to HBAR, which this is one of the ones I think Tatiana was tracking at one point. When was this? November 2024. So this thing had a massive move. Actually, this was when the whole market pumped. So this is a very good example of what we can expect. I don't know what this move was, but it had to be pretty sizable. I mean, this is an older token, so a 7x move is nothing to sneeze at for a token that was around in 2021. So I would expect another move by a token like this. Well, actually, she has her target right up here at 80 cents. So I would suspect that this one's probably coming down some, maybe into here. It's kind of like Doge at this point. And I will say that there is still a chance it could come down further, maybe into here somewhere, because that's a fair value gap and nothing has covered it just yet. And I don't know what if we were to look at a fib here, just roughly, that ends up being right about the golden pocket. Could even come down to the 786. Now, if it was to dip down here somewhere, then sure, that's probably worth taking this play. But from this point, I don't know that it's worth taking it. If you're holding it, that's great. It already made a really big move for you and you're back up near the top. But I don't really think that I would take this play if that's all that's left in it right there, if I was buying here. But yeah, currently it is bearish on the daily chart here, even though we've got a buy signal. And I believe it did lose a level. One way you can do this is just find you a level here, where the previous local bottom was. There's still a little bit it's hanging on to here, but I think this is kind of confirmed that it's going to go down lower because it lost that level. Yeah. There is a chance it comes back up here and puts in a lower high first, though. Okay.
This is one of those kind of ADA play. It's like the ADA XRP type plays, isn't it? HBAR. It's one of the big.
HBAR is incredibly popular because there's a lot of backing from the federal government.
Yeah. Is it the ISO 20 whatever 0022?
Yes, it is one of those tokens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good play for sure. If you get in at the right time.
I've seen it that it may go along the lines of a potential play to move like Palantir from 6 to 175.
Do you remember when it was like 2 cents for ages? It was.
Yeah, it was down here at 4 for a long time. You're right. Since just from December 2022 to November 20. So yeah, 2 years with a little bit of bouncing here and there. What does the 2-day look like on this? Yeah, so it did give us sells. Well, I'm saying it gave the sell signal. We shouldn't really use that as a sell signal. Back up here was the sell when it lost the 70. Got above the 70 and then lost it. Or just started curling down. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, I actually like that better. Just to clarify something, if you get a big move like this, had this kept going down right there and lost the 70, then I would have taken profits there, regardless of this line. Like if we just take this line off, I'm not worried about it right now. But you know, my sell indicator is if it comes up and starts moving down, but I kind of like to see it cross the 70 first, not just if it comes down, because it could have another push up like that. And then it finally crossed right there. So you could have gotten the full profit out of it by waiting for it to complete its move and then get back below the 70 for real on the 2-day. But yeah, that worked out pretty good if somebody ended up taking that full move. There was one that did a 40x. It was called GLQ. Did a 40x during the same moment in time that Engineering Robo found. Let's see, this is XNO, kind of just sideways for the most part. So it's probably building momentum, but if we look at the 2-day, yeah, I mean, it's pretty choppy here. There's not a whole lot we can figure out with this one.
Pull it all the way up back to 2017.
Sorry?
Go all the way back to 2017.
Okay, let me put it on weekly so I can see it better. Oh yeah, it had a big move, yep. Oh wait.
No, it'll go by farther.
I don't have 2017. Maybe XTX. No. Sometimes it's hard to find the oldest chart. Oh, is it Nano? Yeah, okay. I remember this one, yeah. Okay. Put it on the regular. Yeah, it had a massive move, didn't it? So this kind of mimics what Bitcoin did in a way. You know, Bitcoin had a huge exponential move in 2017, and then one that was a little bit more tame, but it still had a vertical move in 21. So, you know, since this one's been down here for a long time, kind of like it did right there, and even back here, it's the same thing. It's just much smaller. You know, I would suspect that it is going to make another move at some point. I don't really know how high that would be. I mean, you could maybe take some kind of, well, no, that wouldn't work. I don't know. It's hard to put a trend line on something like that. But you would suspect that this is the logarithmic chart here. Maybe it'll help. So either here, yeah, it could be something like that. Of course, that wouldn't be much of a move, would it? Maybe, yeah, it's not too bad. Maybe an 8x or something. So this is a possibility that it could just maybe get just above that and then come back down or something. So possible 10x on this one is the way I see it. But yeah, it is right near support. The 2-day is not really giving us a clear signal. I don't know, it's so choppy on the RSI, it's hard to determine what it's doing right now. But anyway, it's bearish because it's under the 50 RSI. Just moving back into the support level. But technically it did break above the previous one, looks like. And it's retesting that same area. So if we put a line right there, you know, this was kind of rejecting, then it got back over it. So, you know, will it be able to hold this line again? Maybe. So, yeah, something like that. Let's see, BONK. Yeah, 2-day gave us that sell signal right there when it came back below the 70. I went ahead and did this one ahead of time. Let's see what the daily shows us. Yeah, maybe it's just going to round out here and then start moving back up, something like that. But we can just wait for that cross right there to be certain. You could even switch to the daily. You know, maybe you're looking at the 2-day here. Here, let me give an example. So you're looking at the 2-day here. The RSI line maybe comes below the 50, and then the lines are starting to get closer and closer together, like right here. You know, maybe this line starts curling up and you think it's going to cross soon. You can jump over the daily chart in this case. Actually, let me put a line on it. Where was that at? Was it here? Yeah, here. So we'll go look at that line on the daily chart now. So you could have gotten in a little bit early on this daily cross right there. If you feel like the trajectory is like it's going to cross that EMA line, just go ahead and jump back to the daily and look at it and see what you think, especially if it's at a support level like this. So, you know, maybe this even comes down to here, or mainly you just want to start to see this curl up, and then you'll have a better feel for it. As far as targets, I think, yeah, I put all the way up. Oh, wait, I've got another one way up here, 0003. So these are all based on fibs. And let's say it comes all the way back down to here.
What would prompt a robo sell on this one? Because it's losing momentum, isn't it? On the RSI.
Why did this thing?
It's crossed below 70.
Oh, there it goes. So it's like a 12x, 13x. Sorry, what were we saying on that one?
What would prompt robo to print a sell signal for this one? Because it has fallen below the 70, hasn't it? From what you can see, and it's losing momentum, isn't it? No.
Yeah, it would have to be way down here to prompt a sell signal, somewhere down here. Because you can see, I mean, if you use this one as an example right here, let me get this line out of the way. See how our buy signal happened here. Let's just see what this looks like on a fib. If we just start at the buy and go to the very top. So that hit, for the sell signal, it hit the 786. So it looks like it has to get under the 786 retrace area for it to turn into a sell signal.
It's good to know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't ever really thought of that. Although, you know, it's kind of strange because on a longer term, like quick pump like this, for some reason it can end up much higher. Yeah, I don't know what prompts it exactly. There's multiple indicators that. So you got a buy signal way down here. Sell signal didn't show up till way over here. Yeah, it must be some kind of not a trailing stop, but I don't know, some kind of thing that kind of trails the price action. I really don't know what's under the hood with Engineering Robo, though, to be able to answer that effectively. And, you know, the creator kind of protects things like that. He doesn't really let things slip. It could have something to do with support levels as well. So, like, if it got, you know, there's some resistance areas here. If it got below that resistance area back over here, maybe it would print a sell signal. Because this was a very significant move. So, you know, there's something that could print a sell signal here as well instead of way down here. Although, let's see, one thing I didn't do was this. Okay, so it's golden pocket right now. 786 would be there. What would it be in this case? Maybe that is right. Well, it's close. Here's the 786 on this move, but it actually gave it just below the golden pocket. So yeah, I really don't know exactly what that would be, or, you know, how to calculate it. I think that probably covers all the questions, but I did want to show XPRT here because I know a lot of people are interested in it. Let's just see here. Hey, Luke, welcome. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a bull flag for sure on XPRT. I wonder, could you have caught this? Yeah, so on the daily, this was a pretty clear buy signal because it hit the 30, crossed up above the EMA. You could have actually bought this candle right there, this red candle, I think. What did it look like on 2-day? Yeah, I think you would have had to have been on the daily on this one. But the thing I was wondering is this putting in some kind of triangle? It's very possible. You know, maybe it fakes out one time below and then starts moving back up. Because this is the first time that it's really given a buy signal for a while now. When
Is
was
this the one that
last
has no resistance on the way up?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems that way, but there is some here. When she was talking in her video last Saturday, I believe it was, I drew this just because, not that I think it's just going to blast off like this. This was more the levels that it could hit before the dip that she was talking about. So, Bitcoin hitting 150K or whatever, hopefully some alts pump with that. And then this thing hits around 350, which I kind of doubt that it would do that right away. Maybe that would be the target that it would hit for, the next pump, the final pump. But, her original target was here at 150. She was saying it could go over that target, though, like, I don't know, a deviation, whatever, just, a quick wick up or something that might be hard to get. But she said there is an outside opportunity that it hits 15. It's just, she feels like this might be way in the future instead of, this cycle. So she just wanted people to be aware of that.
350 is a crazy return, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even if it was to hit, 38 cents here, that's still getting close to 10x territory. And then if it hit the real target, then that's around, 30x or something. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out. But there is a lot of resistance right here. As far as resistance goes, right around 38 cents is what I found. But in general, because this thing just dropped like a rock over time, technically speaking, there's not a whole lot of resistance, like most tokens would have, where it just went sideways forever. And Lake, I think, is one of the few that has actually been moving up lately. It's been a while since it's had well, no, it hadn't been too long, I guess. It's had a couple moves recently. But, we had a nice buy signal here. The candlesticks have started to turn gray on Engineering Robo. But I definitely suspect that once it gets back up here to the bullish line, because it was support at one point, you're probably going to see some resistance there. So if you're in this one, that might be an area you want to watch for. Target on this one's about 90 cents, final target. OPUL, I don't know how many hold this one, but I think y'all know that I hold it. The weekly did give a couple bullish divergences here. My sell area is between around 50 cents to $1. That's where I'm going to be watching. And yeah, I mean, I'd prefer, of course, for it to hold the support. It's had a pretty good drop. I just want to see what Engineering Robo is showing on it now. That definitely looks like a bull flag to me right there. It's got all the hallmarks of one. So this is the fear and greed index down here. Anytime it's down here near the bottom, people are fearful. Anytime up here, it's really where you should be taking profits usually. I would be interested, hang on, let me check one thing.
Something specific to the token bike, that fear and greed, or is that just the general fear and greed index for the market?
Yeah, it's called Krypton Fear and Greed. It's made by Foos. What's that guy's name? His last name's Foos, F-O-U-S. I think that's him. Let me just see if it has his name on here. Yeah, it doesn't say his name. Anyway, he's a guy on YouTube that's been around for a while. I don't know how he calculates it, really. It's probably got something to do with, something like an RSI or a MACD. He just has it calculated in a different way. But you can see the peaks work out pretty similarly here, although this was a lower high right there. I just like to use different things to just see how well they work. And this one works pretty well. This is the same one I'm using on the others chart, by the way, right here. So I wrote in greed at the top, fear on the bottom. Like this one had a higher low there, and that resulted in a pump. And we're just looking for something similar now, into the support zone before it happens again. But where was Lake Opal? There we go. Yeah, I mean, just using the general idea that if it gets down here in the bottom, it's heavily discounted, good place to buy. But you'd rather see this start to curl up first, of course. And of course, the RSI, you want to see it curl up as well. I was just curious if we overlaid, well, not really overlaid, but had the RSI up at the same time, you know, how well this worked out. I mean, this is a higher, this is a low, this is a higher low, and that coincided with a buy signal. I mean, you just have to kind of go back and back test this stuff and see what works for you. But it's generally better to have less indicators. You know, try not to have too many, because then it just confuses you. Originally, I told Luke, I believe it was, that this was the buy area for DOGG, but it looks like it fell through it. Kind of looking at maybe some kind of right triangle here, hopefully. We talked about this, I believe. So would prefer for it to hold that current support, of course, but based on fibs, yeah, because this thing moves so quickly, if we were to pull the fibs and just look at that, I mean, it could even come down to, you know, 002-ish. I don't think it would go any lower than that, but, you know, it is a possibility. What was this move? It probably wasn't that big of a move, was it? 3 to 4x, something like that. Yeah, so, I mean, the good news is this thing's hitting around 30 RSI right now. It can stay down there a little bit, but, you know, you're just waiting for that curl up. Even with this curl up right here, you could have bought there and sold here. I don't know, it might have been a break even, but you might have made like 20% or something. It's still possible to use those two lines. Let's see, Luke says, can you look at DOGG if you haven't? Yeah, we took care of that just there. Okay, yeah, good timing. So DOGG, it's funny because DOGG was right before Moonwell in my list. Let's see, this is the daily. So currently a sell signal. It's hard to tell if it's going to hold there, but that is a strong support level that it got below. Maybe this thing's starting to curl up now, like that, and then it would cross the line. Let's just see what the 2-day looks like. Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't really know what it's going to do, but, you know, this is some support here, so it could hold here. What is the fib on that? So we did touch the golden pocket right here with this wick. Yeah, you would hope that it would hold this level. I mean, there is a level right here that my line is not perfectly on. I can actually move it down to it. So I would say this is probably more accurate right there, just using the fib. And I'll save that. But yeah, you want to see it hold this line for sure at 2 cents. Because the problem is if it gets below here and then starts having trouble hitting its head against it, then, you know, it may take a little bit longer for it to get back above the bullish line there. But, you know, this thing's been down for so long. You know, it's finally getting some momentum. You know, maybe we just go sideways for a little bit longer and then it's ready to go. And this was only like a 2 or 3x move previously. Let me see. I think our targets are on there, yeah. Oh, the target, the final target is 367 on that one. Of course, we don't know for certain that that's actually going to hit, but it definitely could. We'll just have to see how strong the market is on this next push. I mean, even up to well, TP3 is about 8x, TP4 is about 24x, and the target, if it does hit, would be crazy. It'd be like 140x. This is that one that keeps showing up in long SM. Is that IONET token? I think all I have. Oh yeah, there's right there. Sorry.
Right at the bottom of this one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's hitting the 30. I think this is one we talked about once, one time already. This video, but yeah, it's crossing just below the 30 right now. So this would be a very good one. You're right to watch for on the daily. Well, I mean, you may be able to even use the daily on this one, though. This is very smooth. You know, this is just a really nice chart to go by on the 2-day. Looks like. But it's been pretty flat lately. So maybe to get an earlier entry, you could wait for it to curl up and then get above that blue line or yellow line, whatever the RSI line you're using. I think that's really about it. The DEXTF token here that I've been watching, it's really no big deal. I mean, the only reason I entered it somewhere over here is because it was consolidating for a long time and I was hoping it would break out, but we'll see. This is QUIL. I don't know that many people are really following this one anymore, but it's kind of gotten bullish lately, started moving back up. And then this is Bricken. I'm going through these more quickly because they're not really all that important. It's just some that I've been watching. I'm waiting to see if this one breaks out of this triangle. What does it look like on the 2-day? Yeah, on the 2-day it's rejecting, it's going back down, so no need to really worry about this one right now. And then one thing I wanted to mention about SEI on Nansen here is that I posted on my X earlier, but you've got a divergence happening where price is coming down, that's the gray line, and tokens are coming off the exchange, going to people's wallets, the yellow line right here. So I think the price is going to come down just a little bit more. I have to look at the chart to know for sure. Yeah, it's starting to turn gray candle there, candle body. Maybe comes down into here somewhere possibly. But maybe give it a few days and just see what happens, because until these two lines cross, kind of like it did back here, where price pumped once somebody sold off there. I'd maybe wait a few days, just see what happens here. But yeah, that's all I got, guys, unless y'all have any more things you wanted to look at.
That's been really helpful. Thanks so much for taking the time as always. It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, we just make each other stronger, right? The more we try out these indicators and talk about these charts. Hey, Hobart, welcome. You came in right at the end. We were just about to wrap it up. But Hobart, I did record this, and I'll post it here in a little bit. If there's any quick questions you have, I can answer them for you. Like if there's any particular tokens that maybe we haven't covered. If not, I can wrap it up and send out that video as soon as it's processed. I'll wait until you finish typing there. Okay, cool. Yeah, just, circling back to DOGG real quick. Where is it at? I've got Doge on here, so I confuse it with DOGG all the time. All these tabs that are open. Yeah, I mean, the way I would play it is, Hobart, by the way, one thing we talked about is this idea of using an indicator that's actually better than Engineering Robo sometimes, but you just kind of have to practice it and get used to it, where the RSI crosses above the 14 EMA, which is this blue line right here. But you'll see it in the video when I post it, because I do go over it at the very beginning of the video. So really, Luke, what I would do is either on the daily chart or the 2-day, go back and watch this video when I post it at the very beginning, and it'll show you how to use this and how to know where to sell up here. And you could probably get an even better entry by following this, waiting for this thing to cross up. But yeah, I mean, the hope is that it will hold that support. Of course, if it closes below that, then I just, I would be out of it or not buy any more of it until, this thing started to cross up, just to kind of save you some money. That's all it would be for. I mean, I'm sure it'll go back up. It's just, you're trying to find the ideal place to buy. Okay. Well, y'all have a good rest of your weekend. Appreciate y'all joining me. And I'll try to get that out here in about an hour or two to where you can watch it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you're welcome. You have a good night too. Thank you, guys.